The legend of John Henry grew out of the post-Civil War railroad era in the Appalachians. As the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway blasted its way through the rugged Greenbrier Gap, 1869-72, labor crews of thousands of men, especially freed African Americans and immigrant workers, used sledgehammers to drill holes for explosives. Local lore describes John Henry as one of these workers, some say a former slave, others a leased convict, who became famed for his strength. In the folk tradition, he is remembered as a black steel-driving hammerman who defied the coming of steam power. One candidate site for the legend is the C&O's Great Big Bend Tunnel near Talcott, WV, finished in 1872. A roadside marker at that tunnel explicitly identifies it with John Henry's song. The Great Bend Tunnel in West Virginia, completed in 1872, is one of the sites traditionally linked to John Henry's story. A nearby historical marker even names it as the scene of the famous steel driving contest. In the classic folk ballad, John Henry's story is told as a contest of man versus machine. According to the song, a steam-powered rock drill is brought in to speed up tunnel work, and John Henry challenges it to a race. Working in a two-man drill team, one man swinging the hammer, the other shaking the drill. Henry hammers furiously against the mountain as the drill runs. The lyrics proclaim his defiance. "A man ain't nothing but a man. But before I let your steam drill beat me down, I'll die with a hammer in my hand." In the end, John Henry wins the contest. He drives a longer hole than the machine, but collapses and dies from exhaustion with his hammer still in hand. Most versions of the ballad add poignant details. A wife summoned to his side a last request for a cool drink of water, and his proud epitaph as a steel-driving man. As Britannica summarizes, the song describes how John Henry crushed more rock than did the machine but died with his hammer in his hand, making him a symbol of the workers' foredoomed struggle against the machine. While the folk song is the primary vehicle of the legend, researchers have sought historical kernels. Folklorists in the 1920s placed the scene at West Virginia's Big Bend Tunnel on the C&O, which was worked 1870-73. Others, like folklorist John Garst, argued for an Alabama tunnel in the early 1880s. In 2006, historian Scott Nelson traced a real John Henry, a 19-year-old African-American convict in Virginia, who was leased out to clear battlefields and then to work on railroad tunnels. Nelson found that the Lewis Tunnel, near Millboro, VA, completed in 1873 with steam drills in use, fits many clues in the song. According to Nelson, contemporary letters even record a contest between a drill and a man in that tunnel. No single account is definitive. Some oral histories say Henry actually died later of silicosis, or that he was injured by falling rock. But most agree he was an African-American steel-driving man in a southern tunnel, whose fame came from that legendary race. The story of John Henry has been preserved primarily through the folk song. It likely originated as an African-American work song for steel drivers. Field recordings by folklorists, e.g. the Lomax family, captured multiple versions of John Henry in the early 20th century. The ballad's theme, human strength versus industrial power, proved evergreen. Artists across genres have recorded it: Lade Belly, Woody Guthrie, Taj Mahal, Pete Seeger, Odetta, and many country singers among others, keeping the tale in the public ear. In 1931, Rourke Bradford published John Henry, a novel, illustrated by woodcuts, based on the folk tale, which introduced the story to a wider audience. Bradford himself adapted it into a Broadway play in 1939, starring Paul Robeson as John Henry. Later writers and educators continued to retell the saga. Ezra Jack Keats created a 1965 children's picture book, John Henry, An American Legend, and author Colson Whitehead built a modern novel, John Henry Days 2001, around the annual John Henry Festival in West Virginia. Historian Scott Nelson's book Steel Drivin' Man 2006 treats the legend as a true story investigation into Reconstruction-era labor. John Henry has appeared in numerous visual media, notably a 1946 George Pal stop-motion cartoon. John Henry and the Inky Poo became one of the first positive Hollywood depictions of an African-American folk hero. In the 1995 family film Tall Tale, he is portrayed by Roger Aaron Brown as a larger-than-life protector. More recently, The character was reimagined in a 2020 action film, John Henry with Terry Crews, and a planned Netflix movie, John Henry and the Statesman, featuring Dwayne Johnson. Even comic books borrow his name. DC Comics, superhero Steel, John Henry Irons, takes inspiration from the legend. Henry's story is commemorated in museums, markers, and festivals. For example, Talcott WV, near the Great Bend Tunnel, holds an annual John Henry Day and maintains a John Henry Historical Park. In 1972, the town erected an 8-foot bronze John Henry statue at the tunnel entrance, see image below, and placed a plaque noting that John Henry died from a race with the steam drill. In 1996, the U.S. Postal Service issued a John Henry commemorative stamp, one of a series of American folk heroes. Highwayside markers near Big Bend and elsewhere cite the ballad, and folklore exhibits in Appalachian museums often feature John Henry as the archetypal rail-building hero. A bronze statue of John Henry, Talcott WV, stands by the Great Bend Tunnel. Unveiled in 1972 for the tunnel's centennial, it commemorates the folktale, plaque below. Talcott also hosts an annual John Henry Day and maintains a John Henry Historical Park with this statue and inscription. John Henry's legend resonates strongly in labor history and American folk culture. He came to symbolize the dignity and pride of human labor in the face of industrialization. As Britannica notes, artists view John Henry as a symbol of the worker's foredoomed struggle against the machine. His final cry, "A man ain't he nothing but a man," has been interpreted as a protest against treating workers like machines. Labor advocates and folklorists have long celebrated the story in protest songs, union literature, and art, using it to honor the countless nameless workers who literally built America by hand. Philosopher Jeanette Bickle emphasizes that John Henry stands for physical strength, exploited labor, and the dignity of the working man. Even in 20th century politics, his image was invoked. During World War II, he appeared in propaganda as a symbol of social tolerance, and later the term John Henryism was coined in public health to describe high-effort coping with stress among workers. John Henry also carries deep African-American cultural significance. Rooted in Black oral tradition, the tale casts a Black hero at the center of the American industrial narrative. Folk historians note that John Henry's story reflects the post-emancipation experience. A Black man freed by the Civil War who still had to fight for his place on the job. His defiance in the song, overcoming a steam drill at great personal cost, has been seen as an allegory of Black resistance to oppression. In this way, John Henry joins the pantheon of Black folk heroes, alongside Brer Rabbit, John Henry Irons of comics, etc., embodying strength, perseverance, and racial pride. Through generations of singers and storytellers, African-American communities have preserved John Henry's legacy as an empowering symbol that reminds us of the lives of countless nameless people who built the railroads in the nation. Together, the many adaptations and remembrances of John Henry, from railroad tunnel signs to ballad recordings to children's books, underscore that this figure is far more than a myth. He represents real historical laborers and their struggles. Whether he was a specific man or a composite folk hero, his hammer and song have become enduring symbols of human labor against machine power and a proud emblem of African-American heritage. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.